I think you were trying to ask me a specific question just then, so go ahead.
Well, no, it's just that I'm noticing there are some, like I'm aware that my memory is affected.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How?
Like I'm.
Describe.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, and I realise it's probably because I was awake for a long period of time, maybe, but there's parts of, like, my granddaughter, my second granddaughter was born.
Yeah.
She's 8 months old, and I was in active addiction, of course, but I can't recall her birth. I find it, I can't ask my daughter because it's my second grandchild, and I don't want to upset my daughter thinking that it wasn't important enough for me to remember. But I'm fairly certain, I'm pretty sure that I would have been there, but I can't. I've got no memory of it. It's like, but I remember after the birth, maybe a day later.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I wasn't there. I'm too scared to ask her, though. But there are certain things that it's like it's just completely gone.
Yeah. Are there other? So first of all, just I have actually studied memory quite a bit in my psychology course. It's an interesting thing, and it's very, it's powerful but fragile, but also you have to be careful because there's all sorts of things like false memories as well, which is a real issue in criminology and forensics and all that sort of thing as well. So first of all, if you think there's a gap, you try to assess the evidence rationally at the time. If you want to know whether you were there, well, maybe you were, maybe you weren't.
My daughter. Yeah.
Well, that's a simple way. Yeah. That's right. But is there? For instance, you entertain the possibility. Is it possible you actually weren't there? Is that possible?
I really don't know. I really don't know.
No, it's not a matter of knowing it or remembering it. It's just asking you to entertain that possibility.
Well, I find it hard to believe that I wouldn't have been there because.
Okay.
But at the same time, who knows? Maybe she couldn't get in touch with me, or.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure.
That's all right. Is it possible, I'm just still looking for this other slide as well. Is it possible were you taking drugs at that time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just go back. Let's just back off a little bit here. So I just want to make sure we understand what's going on here. So you're concerned that part of your mental function, in this case memory, was affected. There's two ways you can. One is that while you're taking the meth, obviously it's affected. Yeah. The second part, and I'm just reading into your question, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The second part of it is, has it caused damage that hasn't healed yet?
Okay.
Or more even permanent damage, and that's, I think, what you're alluding to, and that it's affected your memory to an extent that you some of those autobiographical memories, we call them autobiographical memories because they're things that have happened to us in our timeline, and there's sort of different. It's part of what they call the long-term memory, and there's different functions of memory. But anyway, is that the sort of thing you're asking?
Yeah, because I mean, since I've come into here this time, like I've had a couple of things come up with people outside. Like I have a close friend who brought up an argument that we had and things that I'd said, and I have I have, but I was at Freeman House last time when that happened.
Yeah.
And I cannot for the life of me recall what exactly was said.
Yeah.
Or, but
were you both?
And I can't, to be honest, I'm not even sure if I think I might have just left Freeman.
Was she at Freeman as well? Beg your pardon?
No. She's
right.
not, no, she doesn't have issues with addiction.
Okay.
And then, you know, I was looking at pictures of on my daughter's Facebook page, and, you know, the birth of Aaliyah, the second grandchild, and I remember one of the pictures is, and then I had a memory that her partner didn't feel like he was bonding with this child, and I remember talking to her about it and saying it'll be fine, don't worry, it's early, like baby's only a day old, but I can't remember before that. I can't remember.
Yeah. Was
I there for the birth? I mean, and I was going to ask her, but I thought I don't want to upset my daughter, so right. I didn't ask her. I just let it go.
All right. Let me give some context. First of all, your daughter, the one you're talking about there, she knows you've got issues or had issues or working through issues with addiction. Does she know that?
Yeah. Yes, she does.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely, she knows.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, my kid, I'm very honest with my kids about everything. Okay. So, I mean, apart from the memory loss.
Yeah, that's all right. And are you obviously? Does she know that you had issues with meth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Does she know the issues that are involved with taking drugs and addiction? She versed or understanding in that area, like the symptoms and the problems that you face and all that. Does she know that?
I don't know
the extent of it.
I don't know how much she knows. I'm not sure how much she knows. I know she has some understanding of it, sort of.
Yeah.
But not a great deal, I don't think.
Okay. All right. And does she want the best for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that provides some context there, because what I would, first of all, the most important thing is that you don't stress and worry unnecessarily over things. So you can, and I'd really suggest, I strongly suggest, I almost order you to.
Yeah.
I spoke about that a couple of weeks ago. You got one? You got it?
I do, but not with me today.
That's all right.
I forgot it.
Okay. But you've got to, when you get tangled in your thoughts, or when anxieties like you're expressing come up, that's where you need this. So you've got to start sketching it out. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because then you could start to carefully articulate the conversation that you will have with your daughter. Not that you're controlling it, but you're presenting your point of it in a way that would have a minimal impact of causing her concern. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what you're concerned about. I can tell. That's why you're asking these questions. So,
yeah, I feel like they've worried enough, and there's been enough stress surrounding me for them, and I don't want to upset them or worry them anymore. But I am, my youngest daughter, like I was talking to her dad the other night, like it's just an example, and I knew that because we had like 4 dogs when I left, and I knew that he kept one, but I couldn't think of the dog's name, and I mean, it was a pet.
Yeah.
And my youngest daughter, and asked her, what's the name of the dog that Dad kept? And she told me, and so I could, because he gets quite, he gets a little bit offended when I don't remember things to do with when we were together.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but it's like it's not like I'm trying to deliberately hurt him. It's just that I just can't remember.
Yeah.
And so my daughters, I think they're a little bit aware that I'm having some issues with my memories.
Yeah.
When I was using.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about it a great deal, but they are kind of aware of it from little things like that. Like, can't remember the dog's name, and
yeah.
you know.
So that's so what here's a question, because you've got to, from moving forward from here, you've really got to look at it always honestly for yourself. And for instance, are you entertaining, I'm going straight for the jugular here, are you entertaining any possibility that you will get back into drugs?
No, not at all.
100% convinced you won't?
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced I'm not going back to that.
Yeah, well, you really need to be 100% convinced.
Yeah.
If you're saying you're pretty convinced, that means there is some...
Oh, no, I am 100%. Look, I've even gone as far as kind of destroying. I've closed all the doors on it, so I have nothing to go back to. It's hard to explain, but that's
right. So the first thing is you close the external doors. In other words, any potential triggers, particularly in the short term.
Yeah.
We've spoken about that. That's important. But you also, there's something deeper within your psyche. We've spoken about this too. So the reason why you're in a pickle to some degree about speaking to your daughter is because you're not, you have to be 100% convinced to yourself that you are moving forward, and you are not going to involve yourself in that nonsense anymore. If there is the remotest chance that you will, then anything that is trying to be healing for you, because believe me, a conversation with your daughter about opening up to the honesty that you've done some harm to yourself is going to be you're not going to be able to do it very well. You're just not. But
to be honest, I have been thinking about that. Like, it's not a conversation I want to have with the girls over the texting. So
of course.
I've already decided when they come to visit next that, and they're going to stay a couple of days next time. So I thought that would be a really good opportunity to sit down and be honest about the fact that there are some things I just don't remember. And
the memory.
I understand.
Yeah. That's more of that's a symptom, and I can talk more about that. But it's really important at this point in this conversation we're having that you're clear that and if you're not clear, you need to get clear. There can't be any ambiguity in this, because honestly, otherwise it'll just go round and round in circles, and they won't believe you anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So so you can't expect anyone else to believe you if you don't believe yourself.
I don't. And I totally understand that.
Yeah. So
I do. I mean, I do have periods where I get scared, but it's not a fear the fear of continuing on this path is far less than it is the idea of going back, so because I just feel like I just don't want to anymore. I haven't felt like it when I came in here. To be perfectly honest, I didn't come in here broke and destitute, and it wasn't desperation on the, because I've been in rehabs before where it's just that, it's getting too hard to chase the drugs and the money's hard to get, and it wasn't like that this time. Like, I didn't have that struggle with finances, and I didn't have that struggle with getting the drugs, and I could use drugs freely in my environment. So it wasn't that, and I've never been in that situation before, but I just felt like the whole lifestyle, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I feel like I have to do. I find it's like there's a drive in me that I feel like I have a greater purpose, and I have to do it.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it now, I might as well just nick myself. Because I can't entertain the thought of going back.
Yeah.
I don't entertain it.
What was that? You don't entertain that?
No. I don't entertain the thought.
Okay. All right. So that's good. That is really good. So what if you've been taking a drug for a while, and I think you said about 9 years, say, for the meth, were you taking anything else before that?
No, I just finished I just finished treatment for I was on Suboxone, but I was nearing the end of it. I got to the end of using that, like I'd weaned myself off.
What's that? What's Suboxone?
Suboxone is it's a bit like buprenorphine, so it's kind of like I had an over-the-counter issue with codeine, and my doctor put me on Suboxone to get me off the codeine.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, one's just
that's fine. I know it's you go around. That's another medical sort of circle that you can go around there. So the longer that you've been on something, the longer the healing process, and the greater the requirement for you almost to completely restructure yourself. I mean, like from the ground up, like the personality from the ground up. So that's what they say. I mean, that's what that's at the core of AA, and that's at the core of people who really struggle with addiction. In other words, it keeps pulling them back, whatever it is. So it's not, and it becomes almost self-defeating and a vicious circle if you just keep trying to treat the symptom. You know, it's like remove yourself from all the external situations, and that's fine. But if you don't address the thing that's going on inside of you that makes you vulnerable to the addiction in the first place, then it's you run the risk of, well, relapsing basically, or something else happening like that. So that's why a lot in these classes, and probably in the other classes too, there's a lot of emphasis in really knowing yourself and really fessing up to yourself and really understanding your sensitivities, your weaknesses, but your strengths as well, obviously, and just moving forward with that. So if you get the sense so far, just from, say, being at Freeman since the time you've been there, that there is hope, because you do need a sense of hope, and the hope,
of course,
from that, not that you're a superhuman or you're going to use all your willpower and all this sort of stuff, but more a subtle hope in that, well, this is what I want, and this is the direction I'm going to move forward into. And if you can synthesize that hope or articulate that hope sort of like that, then you'll be able to convince your daughters, the people around you, because they will see that it's coming from a deeper part inside of yourself, not from the part that says, well, I've decided now to leave it all behind. Well, you know, I mean, that it's if addiction has got a pretty solid grip on you, it's mostly stronger than you are. So there's got to be another way to move forward, you know, and that really, and again, that gets to the core of AA, you know, it's like it's in the first 3 steps. The first step says, you know, you have to admit that you're powerless in the face of this thing. And that takes a lot to even get to that. Meaning that every single thing, every little mental thing you come up with isn't necessarily going to help you. It's pretty severe. It's full on. So in other words, you go to a place of humility and humbleness and sincerely ask for help regularly. And pray for forgiveness. Because this is the whole thing with the memory thing you're talking about. It's like, well, you want your daughters to forgive you, that if you actually were at the birth, you actually don't remember it. So you got to fess up to that. You know, maybe you were, maybe you weren't. But that's easier for you to do, and easier for them to forgive you if they can see that you're moving forward. If they can see there's a sincerity there, you know, it's like, well, this is, and that really does require a complete restructuring of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think just from the time of knowing you, since you've been here the second time, is that you have so many good qualities inherent in you, and you're aware of them, and you not only qualities, theoretical qualities, but practical qualities that you've manifested in the past. So it's like you can draw upon those, you can rely on those.
Yeah.
You need to give, that's part of the vessel of hope, you might say, that you need to carry you forward, because it's important to look back at the good things that you've done, not just the fact that you can't remember things, because that's a normal human foible, by the way. I mean, I'm accused of it regularly. Like, but it's of course with partners and children, because they'll hold you to account and all that stuff. So, but okay, so does that sort of make sense? I've sort of got to pull back a little bit there just to.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, so then to also give you a little bit of hope in the fact that there's some physiological thing. Has your memory actually been affected? Yes, it has, to some degree. Is it permanent? Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
But so a couple of things around that. When you take something, or particularly ice, we know that it has an effect on your prefrontal cortex. And I've mentioned this before. Do you know what that means, the prefrontal cortex?
Isn't that, no, can you explain it?
It's here. It's the part that...
Yes, I know it's the front bit.
Yeah, it's cortex means the outer part of the brain. Prefrontal means that it's near the front. Or it's just a fancy term, anatomical term, that relates to the fact that that's sort of where we process a lot of complex things. We call it part of our executive function, where we have to, the parts of us that, the part of us that has to make decisions, the part of us that is able to discern things, right from wrong, and understand those things, the part of us that can resist impulses from within inside of us. That's the prefrontal cortex. You know, a lot of the meth came out of Lebanon, and then it moved to Syria, and it was basically used to fuel the soldiers. A lot of the ISIS, you know, the terrorist organizations that spread it throughout that region, there was a lot of that meth use for those people, and it was actually made there, tons of it, and then distributed throughout the world. So it's a drug. Yeah, it's a drug that that basically shuts down the use, the effective use of your prefrontal cortex, and you become, to some degree, a willing participant in the most bizarre things on the outside. But also you lose your ability to resist impulses within inside of yourself. So that whole part of you that's ethical and moral and all of that, it's sort of, and is able to weigh up decisions for good or for bad, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah.
I don't mean it's gone permanently, but it's gone.
No. Yeah. While I'm on it. Yeah. I totally understand that.
So if you're on something like that for a longer period of time, and let's just say if you're on it for 3 months, well, then the time to get over it is not that long. But if you're on it for years and years, then what happens is that it's sort of like your muscles. I'm just going to give the analogy. There's a term in muscles called atrophy, meaning that if you had to go to bed right now for 2 weeks, what happens is after a few days, your muscles start to atrophy because they have to be used. Atrophy means that they shrink up. They lose their muscle mass. They get smaller and smaller and weaker and weaker. So after 2 weeks, it's time for you to get out of bed. You can hardly walk because your muscles have atrophied or they haven't been used. It's pretty much the same. It's a good analogy because it's like if you don't use your prefrontal cortex and then it comes time to start using it again, which is now, right? It's like, oh, I haven't used this for a while. And not only that, there has been some residual damage, absolutely, that you have to repair. So not only do you have to work in a sort of a therapeutic sense to start using that function again, which you still have, of course, and is there, but you also need to repair the damage that's been done.
Yeah.
Okay. You okay so far? Are you not? You're not being triggered?
Yeah.
You're not going to explode?
No.
You're okay?
No. No.
It's real. It's true. It's not glossing it over. So it gives you a chance to understand the situation that's confronting you, but at the same time, this information is not designed to get you to worry, because you're in a nice position at the moment that you told me the other day, you know, you're spending time with meditation, you're really looking after yourself, you're sort of honing the capacity to be able to relax more, which you really need. That is really important. So some of the other things I'm about to say that you can do will help both physiologically repair, but also cognitively repair. Cognitive means that you're actually exercising functions in your brain. In other words, say exercising executive functions, those functions that are involved with memory, that are involved with making decisions, those functions that are involved in impulse control, those sort of things, right? And so the only way to start increasing those functions is to use those functions. It's exactly the principle's the same. If you break your leg, or if you end up in hospital, if your muscles atrophy, the only reversal of that, you can eat as much protein as you like. It's not going to help just on its own. You have to use those functions. You have to use those parts of your body. That's pretty much how it works. And then in the initial stages, again, not to gloss over it, it's not easy. Absolutely.
No.
And the level of difficulty is almost proportional, not entirely, to the amount of time you haven't used it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
You've abdicated. So basically, when you're on a substance like ice, you are the queen, but you've abdicated. You've let something else come in and run the show, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. So all of a sudden now, you've woken up almost like from a dream, and you said, hang on a minute, I'm the queen of this domain. But the problem is there's all these little terrorists running around still. You're going to get rid of them.
Yes.
You know, and some of your power's been depleted. I mean, I don't mean power in an aggressive way, but your powers as a human being innately, good powers. So that's part of it. But the other part, which is exactly what we're doing in this class, is talking about health and nutrition. So don't underestimate when you're in this position, and everyone's in this position, everyone looks for magic bullets. If something is wrong, if something's not working for you, you want a quick fix. And that's just not you. That's all of us. There is. Absolutely. People who are 100 miles away from addiction, but it doesn't matter what our problem is. We want a quick fix. But the reality is that that's hardly ever, that is not real. That usually doesn't happen. From my understanding of human metabolism, physiology, brain function, psychology, is that it's anything that is going on that's affecting us is usually multifactorial. multifactorial means there's multiple things perhaps contributing to keeping it bad, but there's also multiple things that you need to do to recover.
Yeah.
It's not one pill, absolutely.
Yeah.
So in that capacity, it's important to, that's why I'm encouraging you to get all the blood tests. It's sort of like, let's just say you have been, what's that fairy tale, something goes to sleep for a long time and then wakes up, and it's like, well, here I am.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. It's like, well, here you are, and you've got some good little dwarves around you helping you, and I might be one of them. And take advantage of that. Take advantage of that. So I'm encouraging you to, if you've been asleep for that long, I'm using that as an analogy. You then need to, what we call actually in medicine, establish a baseline, re-establish a baseline. Well, where are you? What is your actual condition? So that's boring and difficult at first, but you can then, it's more realistic because then you can build on that. You know what I mean? You can structure a recovery and a healing and regain your kingdom with a lot more awareness. And
1 second, Hart.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry, Hart. Right. I knew that was the postman. It was the postman, and I'm expecting a parcel. So
great. Did you get it?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. That's absolutely fine. We'll probably finish soon, so you can definitely pay attention to what it is that you've just got. So that's good. Anyway, I'm encouraging you. Okay. So here's another thing I was thinking the other day. Here's something important. Here's a little skill, and I know you've already got it, but just hone it to a better degree. When you start something, finish it.
Yes.
So that's challenging if you're in a position of recovery. So just that simple thing will force you to use your executive function. Just that.
Yeah.
A lot of those things that we spoke about. So I'm using, say, the blood test as an example. So we've talked about it. We've got all this. You've done some of it, but obviously there's still a little bit more to go. And you can come up with many reasons throughout the day not to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
We're very good at that. And I'm just using that as an example. So, don't think.
But it's a good example. You're right.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I'm not talking about big things. I'm talking about everything that is impacting on you or that you decide to interact with or instigate, right? Everything.
Yeah.
And quickly, if you start adhering to that or finish it through, well, I'm a bit tired right now. I can't finish it. I've got this, I've got that, I've got that. Well, just, if you can't finish it then, put it on your notepad on the top of the list the next morning, something like that. But when you start doing that, a couple of things will happen to you. One is that you'll start to quickly find out how much time you're wasting. If you find yourself unable to do things, either they're not actually important to you, so you need to assess that. So there's a lot of things going on here. It's like, this is all about restructuring yourself, just questioning what it is that you're actually doing. and I don't mean to go into analysis paralysis, but it's healthy to look around you and within you about where you're spending your time and what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's important. It's just really, really important. So these are all the little things that contribute to being the best that you can and enjoying the rest of your life. You know, it's really, and it's not like a gung-ho, like I'm going to get strong and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but it's just about more observing yourself and being ruthlessly honest with yourself and then making adjustments accordingly.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah.
Got some questions or got something to say? Anything?
No. But you're right. I do. I'm very good at starting things and not finishing them. So that's a really good idea.
It's a good place.
You know, like the blood tests.
Yeah.
The blood tests are an example.
Yeah. And the reason, of course, I'm picking on the blood test because this is the health and nutrition class, and we that's not the only reason. I mean, you know, we want to build on things. We want to make you resilient. Listen to me, like anyone. You know, we're going to talk about vitamin A, obviously not this week, probably next week. But you know, I mean, you're at the risk. By the way, Ollie said that you're going to be they're opening up 2 new people are coming in on Monday. So as you know. So, you know, and there's a bit of a spike in all these things around New South Wales. So this other thing that's happening around us on a global level is not going away anytime soon. It's like it's becoming part of. So not only do you just need to obviously focus on your immediate things like we've just been talking about, but as the fog starts to lift, so to speak, you'll notice things on a bigger picture around you, and you're not that old, but you're old enough to be vulnerable to an infection like that. And I am absolutely. I'm a lot more vulnerable than you. So I've figured that out. So it's like, whoa. So what am I going to do about that? So there's some really basic things that you can do about that, but we need to establish a baseline. I'm about to go off and have blood tests myself next week. So you just need to know where you're at and then do things to fill in the gaps, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? One of the physiological things of taking meth is that you can induce a calcium deficiency. And I've spoken about that before. So that's why you need to get a recent bone density scan and just find out what's going on. Okay? So that's...
I have all the paperwork for that.
Yeah,
I just need to go and do it.
Yeah, that's right. So, and we need to check your vitamin D levels and all of this. So again, take advantage. You know, if you're seeing me for an hour in the clinic, you're going to be paying $100. So
Thank you, Hart.
Take advantage of these times. And I'm not saying it's easy, Anne, I know. But at least
I know.
At least I think there's at least 7 dwarves here.
But it's doable. Yeah. It's definitely doable.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I
mean, you know, I had a lot of energy for my addiction, so I try to remind myself of the amount of time and energy I put into using. You know, if I just even put a fraction of that effort into my not using and getting well, I'm probably halfway there.
And also,
huge amount of energy.
That's right. But are you still? You had problems with fatigue. Is that changing at all, or have you still got?
No, it's getting better, and my sleep's improving, like slowly.
That is fantastic. That's a good sign that things are moving in a good direction. And also, one last thing, you can sort of not so much trick yourself, but keep focusing on doing things that you enjoy, right? So rather than that sort of sort of self-talk that you just gave just a minute ago, in that all that energy you put into, you know, the addiction and all that, well, change that. Well, that's true to some degree, but don't beat yourself up. So rather than tell yourself these things, just do it. Just keep doing what it is that you enjoy, you know, and try to move in the direction of doing those things that you know is good for you, but also that you enjoy. You know, so if you enjoy spending an hour meditating with the Buddhists and that, and you get a good experience out, well, keep that going. Do things like that.
Yeah.
I can talk to you more about those things as well later on. But yeah, it's really important that if you find something in this time that you're going through this healing that you do enjoy, but maybe that you're interested in, then pursue it to the best of your ability, just to find out where that might lead. Because really, you don't know. Once you start becoming, once you start reclaiming your kingdom as the true ruler of your own kingdom, all sorts of possibilities are going to open up that you cannot think about right now. You don't know them.
Yeah.
Because you don't know everything that's coming, all the good stuff that's coming from within you, but also there's a thing of serendipity. You don't know what all your gifts and talents are. You don't.
No,
Absolutely
I don't.
not. And so in that sense, we just have to pay attention to something and use an interest as one of the first things that you pay attention to. Oh, I'm interested in that. I don't know anything about it, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
So use then some of the time that you have to sort of look into that and pursue those things as well. So then you're shifting the awareness of worrying about all the things that have happened in the past, because let's be honest, it's a mess. You know, sometimes, you know, there's, you know what I mean, you can spend years there cleaning it all up, or you can just realize where you're at and just move forward. Stop doing that stuff. And to be honest, that would be my suggestion, because we have a limited time on the earth. And then just profusely beg for forgiveness from everyone around you. So,
Thanks, Hart.
That's all right. All right. Shall we leave that for today? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
But I did do homework. Look, see?
Keep all that.
I did pictures too.
Lovely.
I'm going to.
Lovely pictures.
Okay.
Keep that for next week.
Thanks, Hart.
And I think Mike will be back as well. So, yeah, I think vitamin A is a really interesting nutrient. It's underexplored, really. So it's important.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
See you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Yes. Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.